This is going to be a longer video than normal because we're going to talk about some detailed things happening behind the scenes with payment processors that may affect you as a merchant. If you have a merchant account, a credit card account, and you're getting chargebacks or disputes from customers, or you just want to prevent them or defend them, we're going to talk about how to prevent them, how to defend against them, how to prevent losses, and what the reality of the merchant account system is. It's different. It's changing. What you've been able to rely on for the last 10 or 15 years is going to be a lot different going forward, and it may be the reason behind your chargebacks. First of all, if you are a merchant and you're doing things the right way in your business and you're selling product, you're going to get some chargebacks. You're going to get some disputes. That's going to happen. Sometimes it'll be what's called friendly fraud, where a legitimate customer will do a chargeback to try to get something for free. Sometimes it'll be basically a customer complaint where they got their product, but they just want to take it out on you that they don't like your customer service or they don't like the way you talk to them on the phone, and they do a chargeback to protest against that. Sometimes it'll be a misunderstanding about your product or service, and you're going to get those. You know that. Occasionally it'll be pure fraud where somebody stole somebody else's credit card and bought something from your company. That's pretty rare. But that does happen occasionally, and there's methods to prevent that. First, let's talk about what's happening in the credit card industry. The Federal Trade Commission and the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, have different ways to regulate and influence credit card processors, the banks. And what they've done within the last month or so is they've specified some things that the banks have to do with their merchant accounts to, in theory, prevent fraud. But some of these things may actually have an effect on legitimate businesses that are not committing any kind of fraud, right? So let's take a look at this. This article was written by a law firm, Venable LLP, a great law firm, and they had a couple of their staff attorneys write this article. Remember, we're not attorneys. We're not giving you legal advice. We're just monitoring the financial industry for merchants. So they're talking about what's called dark patterns. Dark patterns is a vague term which the banks are telling, or the FTC is telling banks to watch out for, to basically cancel merchant accounts or to take action. And the FTC hosted a workshop to examine how dark patterns affect consumer behavior, and whether some groups are unfairly targeted by dark patterns, and ways which user interfaces can affect decision making and choice. So this is not about fraud. It's not about selling bad products. It's where users are making decisions and making choices, voluntary choices. Remember that, because we're going to come back to that. The FTC issued an enforcement policy warning merchants against using illegal dark patterns to trick or trap consumers into subscription services. So far, all good. Nobody likes those recurring billing scams that we see, that we've all run into. We sign up with something and all of a sudden our card gets banged every month. If you are a legitimate merchant, you don't have to worry about that. If you are a merchant that's doing credit card fraud and billing people, you deserve whatever comes to you from the FTC. That's not who we're talking to. We're talking to legitimate merchants that might get caught up in this, because it's going to end up with enforcement on merchants who are not doing anything wrong. And this is a little known fact, but the FTC classified design elements that contribute to dark patterns, and they're saying it's dangerous to consumers. Design elements. What is a design element? Something on your website, something in your ads. Let's take a look. They specifically said how to spot dark patterns. What are dark patterns? Sneak into basket, adding an extra item to the customer's shopping basket upon checkout, or tricking customers. Well, you don't want to be tricking anybody. And we'll look at some of the other ones. However, here's the problem. They sued a website for having deceptive system designs and apps that prey on human cognitive processing frailties. So let's just look at this last part. Human cognitive processing frailties. Well, if you have a website that describes things fairly, legitimately. You're not trying to be deceptive. You're not trying to be a scammer. But if the users of that website have cognitive processing frailties, basically they're stupid, or they can't read, or they don't take the time to read. If that consumer later decided, oh, I didn't understand this, I didn't get it, I didn't read everything, and they make a case against you or make a claim against you as a business, the FTC could jump in. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau could jump in and say it's a unfair and deceptive practice, and you could get in trouble. You could lose your merchant account. One of the lawsuits was from a portal that was selling travel services, and they had a tickets left message accompanying flight search results. So they would say only 2 left. You've seen that, right? Well, in that case, there really wasn't only 2 left. That's kind of a scam. I can agree with that. But what happens if you have something that describes your product on the website and the customer didn't read it and they just assumed, they maybe wishful thinking, thought they were getting a service or product that was different than really what you described? That was human cognitive frailty, meaning the customer is not cognitive enough to understand or take the time to read it. That could get you into trouble. What are the specific dark patterns? Roach Motel makes it easy for the consumer to get into a situation like subscription, but hard to get out. Nobody likes that. We have a subscription sometimes for publications or newspapers, and they give you a free trial, and then it goes up, and then you want to cancel, and it's impossible to cancel. Nobody likes that. Forced continuity. Keeping the theme of descriptions, forced continuity may occur when a consumer provides a credit card to pay for a low-cost trial and later finds out she had been enrolled in recurring billing. Difficult to stop. We've all seen that. Major newspapers do this all the time. It's not just scammers. Hidden costs, right? Delivery fees, service fees, care and handling. But here's the thing. What if it's disclosed? It says creative yet vague charges pop up at the last minute. Okay? So what happens if you're a restaurant and you add a 3% surcharge because of maybe higher cost or because of supply chain, and you don't have proper signage? That might be something that dings you. Price comparison prevention. So if you present your prices in a different way, 75 cents each for something versus a bag versus 6, and if you apply it to subscriptions, confusing savings claims. What's the difference between intentionally confusing or just somebody not being able to understand things? As the cognitive ability of the general population declined because of our education system or anything else, what is one person's failure to read the details is somebody else's fake description or misdirection. If the website deliberately directs the consumer's attention to one thing to distract from something else. Well, what does that mean? If on your website you have the description of the product and everything that it does for you as a consumer that's good in 10-point font and the price is in 9-point font, does that mean you're intentionally putting more attention on the description, not the price? Right? I don't know. But these are very vague terms. You have to provide information in clear and conspicuous. What does that mean? I'm sure that initially the intention is going to be to protect consumers, but it could be used against you even as a legitimate business. And it gets back to false sense of urgency. Marketing technique to create urgency. What if you have a sale? What if you say, look, this price is going to expire on Friday? Is that a false sense of urgency? Is that going to be something that is not allowed? Right? It says not all dark patterns may rise to the level of being deceptive or illegal. But who makes that decision? And the FTC and CFPB are onto this. So what do you do as a merchant? Well, if you're a merchant and you get a chargeback or a dispute, what you should do immediately is research everything about the customer's file. Look up the order, look up the shipping, look up any communications, email, phone, and put together your case file. If you legitimately sold that customer product and service and you did everything correct and you stand by your company's reaction to that customer or your relationship with that customer, then send back a response to that to the financial institution, documenting everything you've done. Stand by yourself. Don't ignore a chargeback because you'll automatically lose. Even if you lose, if you at least respond to it, that will be in your file and the merchant account will reflect that. If it's true fraud, look to see if it's a friendly fraud. Check the IP address where the order came from. Does it match where the customer is supposed to be? Check the communications. Did the customer send you an email? It's hard for a customer to say fraud and they didn't authorize their card if they sent you an email or they called in. Look at your call records. Do you have a caller ID record from that customer calling you before they place the order or after they place the order about customer service? It's hard to defend that. Do you have a record where the customer asked for a refund that maybe wasn't authorized? Maybe they said, well, I got your product and I used it, or I got your service and I want a refund, and maybe they don't qualify for a refund and now they did a chargeback. Document that as well, right? You want to stand by yourself. Now, if you did something wrong with a customer, you want to rectify that and remedy that, right? But be prepared for this because the chargeback and the dispute environment may change because of the FTC's focus on dark patterns. They may not realize exactly what merchants have to deal with. They may think that some things that merchants are doing for business development, for sales and marketing are legitimate things, but they may classify it as a dark pattern. They may classify it as something which is unfairly targeting a group of consumers. What if one of your ads for a product is geared towards some group of consumers, whatever group that is? Maybe it's a disadvantaged group, maybe it's an ethnic group, maybe it's a local group, and accidentally that group, because of your marketing, buys more of one product over another. You might be accused of targeting that group with a product that maybe has a higher profit margin, right? So get good legal advice from an attorney, do the right thing, keep track of what the FTC is doing, and maybe if you have questions, reach out to them. Ask the FTC and the CFPB what is legitimate. Maybe if you can explain what you're doing for a business and have them understand what you're trying to accomplish, maybe that'll help turn the tide in your favor to have them see something as a legitimate business, not a deceptive system design, right? Deceptive system design. That's a scary phrase because if your website or your advertising is intended to sell a product, you're going to talk about the good things of the product, right? If you have a product that maybe has pros and cons to it, if you talk more about the pros and not about the cons, they might say that's deceptive, right? Because of human cognitive processing frailties, right? You might not be looked at as doing the right thing. So we'll post a link to this article in the comments or in the video description. Take a look at it, get good legal advice, and really look at the forward strategy of your business to see how you're going to create future e-commerce or marketing campaigns that will fit not only the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law, especially what you think the spirit of the law is going to be in 2025, because this is where the intentions of the regulatory bodies is going, and you want to be prepared for that in advance of it becoming reality for your business.